All right, let's jump right in. Today, we're going to get into one of the wildest, most fascinating images in the entire Bible, and it's all packed into a single verse in Revelation. It's all about what happens when you don't just read a message, but you actually consume it.
So here's the scene. The Apostle John gets this command from a massive angel. Take this little scroll and eat it. And the experience is just bizarre. At first, it's delicious, sweet as honey. But then, as soon as he swallows it, his stomach turns bitter. It's a powerful metaphor, and we've got to take a closer look.
So that's really the big question, isn't it? What does it even mean to eat a message? We're not just talking about hearing words or reading a page. This is about total internalization. It's about a message literally becoming a part of who you are. But why would something so sweet have such a bitter aftertaste? To figure that out, we have to go back to the original language.
Okay, so let's start by breaking down the specific words John used here. The Greek is incredibly precise, and it really shows you just how intense this whole experience was.
First step is the verb for ate. Now, in the Greek, the word is katephagon, and we are not talking about a casual nibble. This means to devour, to consume something completely, kind of like a fire just eating up wood. So John didn't just taste the scroll, he devoured it. He made it completely his own.
And at first, that experience is incredible. The word he uses is gluki, which means sweet. This is all about the initial joy of getting a piece of truth, you know? It's that excitement of a brand new revelation, that pure delight of understanding something about hope and life. It tastes good.
But then, things take a turn. The word is epikranthē, was made bitter. Now you've got to notice the grammar here. This is a passive verb. John doesn't choose for it to be bitter. The bitterness is a direct result, an unavoidable consequence of actually digesting that sweet message. This is something that is happening to him.
So this brings us right to the central paradox of the verse. I mean, how can the exact same thing be both wonderfully sweet and painfully bitter? Let's unpack this duality.
And here you can really see the conflict laid out. The sweetness in the mouth? Well, that's the surface level joy. It's the head knowledge of a beautiful idea. But the bitterness in the belly? That's what happens when the idea sinks in, when you start to feel the full weight of what it means. It goes from being an idea you know to a reality that changes your very core.
You know, this idea of God's word being sweet isn't something new in Revelation. The Psalms are filled with this kind of imagery. Receiving truth feels good. It's comforting. It's enlightening. It's like honey for the soul. It's the good news part of it all.
So the key moment here is the transition. The bitterness starts when the message stops being just an intellectual concept. It's when it gets digested, when it hits your soul, and you start to realize this truth is going to demand something from you. It comes with a cost.
Okay, so what does this cost exactly? Why does a divine message that starts out so sweet end up causing this deep internal bitterness?
The bitterness, really, is that dawning realization of the sacrifice at the heart of the message. For John, this was the gospel. And to truly digest the gospel means you have to confront the immense suffering and rejection that Christ went through. It's not just a happy story, it's a brutal one.
This verse from Isaiah, it just captures the essence of that bitterness perfectly. To internalize the message is to feel the weight of these words, to understand that our healing and peace came at an absolutely unbearable price. And that realization, it's profoundly sobering. It's bitter.
And that cost? It extends to the person who consumes the message too. Truth becomes painful because it acts like a sword, confronting our own flaws. Living it out can bring persecution. It demands that our old self, our old way of life, has to die. And ultimately, it requires us to follow that same path of sacrifice. I mean, that is a bitter pill to swallow.
But here's the thing. The story doesn't end with bitterness. That's not the final state. Actually, the bitterness is the very thing that leads to this profound transformation and a totally new kind of life. And look at this, the exact same place, the belly, that was once filled with so much bitterness, it becomes the source of something incredible. Rivers of living water. The pain of the truth, once it's fully digested, doesn't lead to death. It leads to this overflowing, life-giving power. So this kind of maps out the entire journey, right? It starts when the word comes in and judges, exposing what's wrong. That's the bitter part. Then that process breaks and heals the heart. And out of that brokenness, new life flows. And the final step? A burning, unstoppable need to share the whole message. And that right there is the ultimate outcome of eating the scroll. You can't just keep it to yourself. After being so profoundly changed, silence just isn't an option anymore. You feel compelled to proclaim the whole truth, not just the sweet, easy parts, but the bitter, costly parts too. The joy and the sacrifice, they become one powerful message.
So, we end here. This whole strange vision of eating a scroll forces us to ask a really challenging question. It suggests that just tasting a message, just enjoying it intellectually, that's not enough. The real mark of having understood something is whether it gets into your gut, whether it changes you from the inside out, and whether it moves you to act. If it doesn't have a cost, if there's no bitterness, well, maybe it hasn't been fully digested at all.